They're lulled out of their sleep. That's where we left
They,
off on. I love
yeah,
that.
people have really been lulled out of their sleep.
Hmm.
And it depends how you want to look at it. Some people are living in a continual nightmare.
Mm.
Others see it as an opportunity to reset themselves, their businesses, their lives. Basically, it's been a huge shift, a huge moment, and we've had to get used to uh, expanding our comfort zone, because there's so many things that we realize and maybe we didn't see before that are out of our control. And we're always trying, it's the human condition, we're trying to control our lives.
Hmm.
And it's difficult. Every you turn around and there's something new. What's next? What's next? What's next? And the relationships with our clients have been turned upside down. And those people who had solid relationships before are leaning on them and can lean on them. Those who didn't have an opportunity to establish solid relationships. But it depends on whether or not you want to want to continue, whether, and some people just couldn't, because nothing to do with themselves. It just, they ran out of gas.
Yeah.
Financially,
Hmm.
they ran out of gas, and that's a reality.
Yep.
I mean, some of them ran out of gas. They didn't even know before that they were running out of gas organically. And this really propelled everyone to, the petrol station. You got to the gas station and you put your card in and you couldn't pump anything. There was nothing to pump.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't give what you don't have or what you don't believe in
That's
as well too. And I love that, Angie, that you said that. And I think now more than ever, people need you as a coach. And I love the fact that you're the beauty industry's only high performance coach. And Sean and I are huge fans of Brennan Bouchard. And so I want to hear about that as well too, because I love the questions that he talks about in his book. And I think it goes along with everything you're talking about. And the questions are, why do some individuals and teams succeed more quickly than others and sustain that success over the long term? And you can also add to that, how are they able to overcome any type of adversity? And then of that, pull it off, why are some miserable and others happy on their journey? And the last question that he answers, of course, through his book, High Performance Lessons, is what motivates people to reach for higher levels of success in the first place, and what kinds of habits, training, and support help them improve faster. So I know we don't have, 25 hours for you to do a workshop for us, but I think it'd be great to kind of touch on some of these
Yes,
aspects.
of course, of course. Um,
Where do we start?
where do we start? We start at the end.
Yes.
We start at the end.
Yes.
It's the Okay. Look, what high performance is all about, and this has all been studied. This is not something that anyone pulled out of their hat. Okay, it's been studied over years at the High Performance Institute at the University of Pennsylvania. You can check it out. For those of you who want to take a high performance test, a quiz to see where you're at, you can go there to the High Performance Institute, and they have a quiz, and I'll send you some things so you can, however you do it, Sean, whatever you do technologically.
We'll email it out to everybody that signed up for this webinar series. So thank you so much.
Yeah, so they can
Yeah.
go there. And at the end of the day, we're looking at habits that were distilled from, I don't know how many habits we all have, But the key habits that move, what we call move the needle,
Yeah.
it's clarity, right? It's the energy, it's necessity, it's productivity, influence, and your courage. These are the high performance habits. Those are the things. And there are lots of other habits that maybe could have reached the list, but these are the ones that really are needle movers. And so, so it's through the establishment of these habits, and it's not like, it's a little bit different than brushing your teeth. something
Very
some-
true.
something we learn to do, and once we get pretty good at it. This is it's a process rather than an event.
Yeah.
But when you move within this framework, when you adopt and adapt the framework, okay, because it's very much about how we think and what we do as a result of our thinking. When we adopt and we adapt this particular framework, what you find, what people have found, it's been proven, you become happier, which is a nice thing because that's what everyone in the world wants. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, if you, I just want to be happy. Yes, you do. I want more money. Of course you do. That's fine. I want to feel great. I want to have a wonderful, I want to be in love. I want these things. And the happiness is I see it as the overriding umbrella. It's the joy that you want, and we all want as human beings. Okay, so there you have it. I mean, it's in a nutshell. So how do you reach a sustained level? Because high performance is not going up and coming down and going up and coming down and moving up the mountain that way. It's moving on up, walking step by step, and then sustaining it over time. So in any field of endeavor, there are those folks who you look at and you say, how did they do that? How have they prospered? How have they been this way for such a long time? They're
Yeah.
high performance folks. They're not the flash in the pans. And it's interesting in our industry. We see a lot of flash in the pans,
Yeah.
don't we?
Yeah. Where do you think that comes from? Like, what is your thought process? Like, give some attributes of flash in the pants.
Flash in the pan. I think especially today,
Yeah.
where we have almost like social media really has fueled
Yes.
the whole thing. And you think of it, there are all these folks who 2 years ago, what was it? It used to be the number of followers you had, right? And you became a rock star. And then in our industry, what happened was the folks in the major companies, the manufacturers, those guys, the black hat guys,
Yeah.
they have a lot of smart people working for them.
Right.
A lot of smart people,
Yeah.
and they want to sell stuff.
Mm-hmm.
God bless. I want to sell stuff. You want to sell stuff. They want to sell stuff too. And so what they noticed was, they couldn't help but notice, that there was a rise in the number of these, new influencers. The influencers may have been really good at using the tools of the trade, the tricks and tips to get out there. And to their credit, they had one thing that, high performers do have, which is discipline. Because to do that, and I'm not going to name any names, but I do know some of these folks personally,
Mm-hmm.
and God bless. When they're asked what their secret is, they said, I just show up every day and I do it.
Yeah.
I just show up every day, and I do it. But everyone thought I can be an instant rock star, okay?
Yeah.
And then the what you call the manufacturers latched on, and these folks got contracts, and they were paid hefty sums. And then maybe they're still making hefty sums. I don't know, but then people poured into the market, right? Everyone tries to be one of those guys, and what happens is the money comes down. The manufacturers get really smart. Well, I don't need that. This person. So nothing has really been built upon a substantial base of doing and being. That flash in the pan creation is very different. The social world is very different, and you don't have relationships in the social world. You don't. It's very
Superficial. Right.
superficially social. Yeah.
Yeah, superficially. Like, who is this person? I know it's so funny because I've built some relationships that I think are going to be lifelong relationships, and I can't wait to actually meet the people in person. And
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, oh, it's like you, Andrew. I'm like, I know when I see you in person, I'm going to feel like I've known you my whole life because I feel like we have already met, although it's been just virtually.
Well, we have, and we will soon meet.
Exactly. His son is moving to Michigan, so
He's
it's
moved. He's up there.
so
He's
he's
up
gonna come
there.
visit us, Sean. He's gonna come be a guest speaker. Andrew is. Let's break some of these things down.
Sure, let's break
I'd
it
love
down.
to hear your story specifically. How have you gained? I love that word clarity. We pick a word every year. Sean picked clarity. Was it this year or last year, Sean? Clarity. Yes.
Here.
Yep. And it's I think he's gotten a lot of clarity this year. My word is new. So we have new clarity. We combine ours together, new
Yeah.
clarity together. How have you gained your clarity for your life, and give advice to someone that's like, I'm not real sure if I have clarity right now. I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. I'm really frustrated.
Well, first of all, just go back to the high performance. Clarity is one of the 6 key high performance indicators. If you do not have clarity, you will never be a high performer.
Right.
And you will never, if you do not have clarity, you will never, and never's a long time, folks, you'll never be happy. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's just the deal. And that goes back pre all this stuff. That goes back to the ancient times,
Yeah.
to ancient practice, where clarity was, if you look at Buddhism or Hinduism or any of those practices, they're seeking clarity. That's what the monks are up to.
Yeah. I love listening to Jay Shetty.
Jay Shetty, right,
Yeah.
right. Jay Shetty. And it's true. It's true, and it's hard, but it's essential. And that is coming up, and you're coming up against yourself, right? And you have to be brutally honest with yourself to gain clarity. It's not even just honesty with self is key. Okay. And something that you want to, when we're looking at ourselves, we want to imagine, you want to imagine thyself better, and then you want to work into that. So clarity is on many levels. When we're looking at something, we're looking at ourselves, how we are now, how we are being now, and how we want to manifest ourselves in life, how we want to be tomorrow and the day after and the day after. And so it's a continual improvement of being, and we need that clarity. And when we talk about in high performance, we talk about being clear with who we are, being clear with how we are being with other people, how we want to show up.
Yeah.
That's so important. And then being clear on the attributes that have brought us and that have made us already successful. Because you know something, everyone here, you, me, everyone, and every listener here is already successful.
Absolutely.
You know, and we as a society are always looking at, you know, the glass. I see the glass, society looking at the glass half empty as opposed to the glass half full. And we have so much of ourselves, so much more horsepower in there. And
Yeah.
we're on the moderator, you know, the thing that they put on cars so you can't go 200 miles per hour.
Yeah.
So you're tooling around in your
It's true.
cool Ferrari and you're going 65. I mean, and you want to go more because you know you have more juice, you know you have more power.
Yeah. Hmm.
You know, you know. And so clarity is identifying that and starting to step into those things.
Mm.
And so as a leader, if the leader doesn't have clarity on herself, how she's being, how can she possibly lead?
So true.
You can't.
Yeah. What do you think causes, because I have my own feelings on this too, but
Uh-huh.
what do you think
Sure.
causes people to not have any clarity? Like, is it just because they're just too busy doing that they forgot about being? I mean, that's where my B series came from, my B series books, of course. What's your thought on that?
Yes, that. And I think people don't take the time.
Yeah.
It's scary. They don't take the time because uh, they wrap all sorts of preconceived notions around this thing. I'm not good enough to get clear. Only those people do that.
Right.
Only that person, this person, always comparing ourselves to others. We have to stop that. If you want to get clear, stop comparing. You are you. It's okay. You are whole. That's, you know, you are all right. Yeah, sure. This and that and the other. Sure, but that's your relationships to these things and to yourself. Once you get clear on your who you are inside as a human being, you can make progress. That's why people go to therapists, you know. They serve a big function. I'm not a therapist. And I tell everyone,
I think you
I,
could be.
no, I'm not qualified. And truly, therapy is a great role in society. No, I'm you know, as I said, I'm not a therapist, priest, or rabbi. I'm just a high performance
Coach.
coach. Right,
It's just a coach.
right. And what we do is we move people, we push people forward. We help them move forward. And yeah, everyone has the stories, the past stuff. We have to deal with what is now and what is the future.
Yeah.
And
I love
only
that.
through doing that will you move ahead.
So true. I've come to the conclusion, Sean and I coach a lot of salon leaders, Andrew, and I know you do as well. I've come to the conclusion that some people are just so stuck in the past that I have to send them to a therapist and a counselor. And I'll be like, you go to them for the next year
Yeah,
and then, and I'll refer them and then come back and see me and I can help move you forward because right now you're stuck and stuck stinks, right? And so
it's
let's talk.
horrible. It's horrible, you
It's
know.
horrible.
It's
And it's
horrible. And
awful to coach people that way too. It's
well,
frustrating.
well, when they're there, and I agree with you, that's someone else. That's their job. You
Yes.
know, when people come to me as a high performance person, they're ready. They're ready to make the next step. You know, and they're ready to go. They don't, if you're here with me with the stories, doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like it just does
Yep.
not work. And everyone has a story. I have a story, but we have to leave that behind and not drag it like you know, a sack on our
Exactly.
shoulder.
This is so good. I'm loving this. And I want to kind of dig into this too, because
Sure.
John and I, the next level course that you know about, that I've talked to you about, that we teach, is the 5 strategies of a healthy business. And we start on foundation. And this is
Hmm.
basically what clarity is. It's really
Yeah.
digging into our own foundation. And something that I have found actually, Andrew, is that many people don't even know who they are, so they don't even know who to hire, right? They
Hmm.
just are like, I just need someone that has a full book and is busy and hit the ground running. And I'm like, I don't think that's exactly what you want. Like, you need to hire, people that
Well,
you are looking for. So let's talk about hiring practice then.
yeah, but I'd say that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. It's great to have someone with a full book coming on in. I'd love, I'd love to be swamped with that,
Of course.
of course. But when we hire, and this goes into, you're an owner, you own multiple schools, your experience, that when we take that path, yes, that's like putting a Band-Aid on a huge gash. It doesn't hold.
Right.
It doesn't hold. Maybe overnight, and you get a temporary feeling of relief, but you're not solving the issues, and you're not building anything. And as a leader, that's not what you do. You're not leading, you're buying. I mean, you might as well be a banker. I mean, what is it? And you come from a place of poverty
Yes.
in terms of a mindset.
Hmm.
If you have, just going back to hiring, first of all, we have to influence someone, the prospect, persuade them that their vision of their own lives is going to be aided through our vision of this place that they're coming to spend time in,
Yeah.
beyond work. It's life. This is, it's so important. Establishing a business where what's the word for it, Tina?
This is
It's
powerful. This
it's
is
it's
so good.
it's where people come and you recognize that they're spending their lives, they're investing themselves and their time, which is the most precious thing that we have. We have nothing else, really. It's so much more important than everything else, your time and how you're showing up. And they're investing it. So if you just want to buy a book, there's no investment that person is making. And you've not invested anything in them. What are you investing in them? They're paying themselves. They bought a job.
Yeah.
That's what they've done, and
Yeah.
many of them, yeah. And it's just
I love that you talked about they bought a job. Let's talk about that a little bit more, because we do
sure,
that
absolutely.
phrase quite a bit, and I know coaches, we kind of throw it around. Talk to the listeners right now. What exactly is buying a job?
Okay. Well, if the listeners right now are salon owners, okay, you may have experienced something that looks like this in your life. You may have worked, you most likely worked for someone else, okay? And you did have a job. You worked for someone else. And one day something happened. Maybe a client said, "Hey, Tina, you are so talented. Why don't you open your own?"
Mhm.
And you said, you looked over and you said to yourself, well, I don't know about that. Maybe one day, but the seed was planted and you go home and you start kvetching, at home. How was work, honey? Well, blah, 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 blah. Can't you make more money? Blah, 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 blah. And it starts to center around that.
Yeah.
And one day, you look over and you see your boss and you say, he's pretty good, but he's no genius. I'm just as smart. I can do this too. And whether it's that day or a week later, a month later, you've decided to open your own joint, your own salon in this case. And what you've done, but you think that is all you have to do is show up the same as you showed up with your job. And basically you do show up that way, as if you do the same things that you did before. And people are telling you, well, you got to get this and you got to get that, and you need a manager, and you need this. And you kind of know that, but you don't really take it seriously.
Mhm.
Right. And all of a sudden, you're the boss, but you don't know how to be the boss. And I throw that word around lightly, kind of, but what you've done essentially is you've stepped into a job. You bought yourself a job. And the tragedy is that you're working for a lunatic yourself.
So true.
That is what it turns into. And so what happens, look at the failure rate. It's small business, small business.
Yeah.
Such a high failure rate today. Oh boy. So one night you're in your office and you're looking at the wall, it's late. You ought to go home and attend to your life, that other life that you've kind of discounted for a couple of years, and your relationships are sagging, and you decide this ain't working anymore. This ain't working anymore. And you decide to close the doors, or worse yet, drag on your misery.
Yeah.
The third choice you have is to redo yourself, reinvent yourself, reinvent this business. But it starts with you first. That's what this is all about. It's not them. It's easy, them. It's us. It's us. That's why you need the clarity. You need to be clear that it's you. It's not them. It's not the customers. It's not your team. You built your team. If you look behind and you don't have, it's like I remember the old Lone Ranger and Tonto, right? And they're riding their horses and they're into this valley, and there are cliffs over them, and they look up. Lone Ranger looks up and he sees, oh my gosh, there are all these Indians up there, and they have rifles and bows and arrows and spears. And he turns to Tonto and he says, Tonto, looks like we're in trouble. And Tonto says, what do you mean we, Kimasabi? But, I mean,
Exactly.
right? I mean,
Yep.
right. And that,
because I'm out of here.
I'm out of here. And just let's remember that those people that we're working with, who are spending their lives with us, are free agents.
Yeah.
They're all free agents. So we have to respect them. Okay? We have to honor them. We really have to listen to them. Mm-hmm. Those are the things. Those are that's what's happening, And if you want to know, and I may have mentioned this in a previous call sometime, but there are, if you want your leadership practices, there's 6 of them. And the first one is envision. Look, if going back to all this and going back to clarity, if you can't envision a life for yourself, how in the world are you going to envision something for other people
Right.
called a business? You got to envision it.
Yeah. It's got to be
And
more than just building a clientele.
oh my God, what's building a clientele? It's building a future.
Yes.
It's building a future for everyone who's involved, everyone it touches, your vendors, your clients, their family. It's just that intense. Let's put it that way. It's that large.
Yes.
And so, it's with intention that you only get through clarity. But when you are being this way, you can bring people on board because they will follow you. And those who don't see what you're seeing will not.
Hmm.
They will not. But a business is like you start a little movement,
Yeah.
and that's what it's about. And then you enlist people. That's a second. You paint that picture for them. We're doing this, and there's going to be naysayers, of course, but you have to have enough. You have to have enough confidence in yourself
Mm.
to know that you desire this, and you're doing it not just for me, but for my why. Why? Because I want to bring this to life for my family, for things that I value. So you enlist other people, you paint a picture, you ask them if they'd like to join. You don't tell them, you ask. Then you embody it. Then you start to live it. That's so important. You embody all of this.
Hmm.
And that goes back to the 6 high performance habits that we have to, if you want that change, then you embody those habits and you practice them daily. You seek clarity, and there are tools that we have that help you do that. You make sure that you take care of yourself energetically. And we won't get into that, but that's so important. So
Hmm.
many people minimize that. Now, especially today, especially the
So
people
important.
people in the COVID. I mean, oh my God. When you don't have the gyms open, you don't have the yoga studios open, we've really had to improvise, and we've really had to be disciplined
Yeah.
about our health. You know, Candy sales were up 8% this year.
Oh boy.
Yeah. What does that say?
Self-soothing. Self-soothing.
Isn't that, but 8-10% chocolate sales, big time. I love chocolate, but hey, you know, I'm not sitting on the couch scarfing it down. But so we've had to be very diligent,
Hmm.
and we've had to be highly structured when it comes to the energy. We have to maintain, this is not BS. This has been proven. Proven. Look at any, if I won't go into it. But then,
So true.
then necessity is, I had to be my best. Think about how we show up in the salons. Think about the owner coming in, and they're not determined every day to be their best. You cannot afford not to be your best.
Right.
You got to leave whatever's going on, and we all have stuff going on. And some days are just not great days for us.
Right.
And that's part of the reason we need a coach,
Yeah.
as a coach, as cheerleader in a way, to
Hmm.
help us through that, to help us through some things that only we can get through. But if you're having a bad day, you gotta, and I'm sure you've heard this, leave it at the door.
Right.
You do too much damage to what you're building and to other people's lives. So it's
Yeah.
irresponsible. It's irresponsible of any owner to show up less than their best selves. That's hard.
It is hard.
Oh yeah, damn right.
It's so
Damn.
hard. It's day in, day out. We were just talking to one of our salon leaders, and we're like, you know what? You cannot, we call it, you can never bitch down. You can only bitch up, and you can't bitch sideways either. Right.
Yeah.
But you can come bitch to us, because we're gonna be the ones that say, hey, no, let's pull
Yeah.
this together. Let's change the attitude on this. You can, you're gonna be okay. And she kept complaining to her team about things that were going wrong with her clients, and then she was like, oh my gosh, you're right. She knew right away, just like you said.
Yeah.
Andrew,
Yeah. We
she knew it was toxic.
it's toxic. We have to catch ourselves in the moment and then be honest enough to say, hey guys, I wasn't being my best self. I really
Yeah.
wasn't.
Oh, I
And
love
then
that. Good.
in high performance, we actually have certain things called we triggers, and I'm sure you know what all that's about, that we insert into our day that brings us back on track. It's like our own GPS.
Yeah. Honestly, every salon needs to hire you, first of all, but also read this book, because it'll shift your mindset so much. So good.
Absolutely. No,
Yeah.
it will if uh, people
If
read a
you
lot of
apply
books.
if you apply it.
If you take the steps to apply it. And I have a hat that I wear on the BBR, Beauty Business Reset, and it says honor the struggle.
Mhm.
That's
Good.
what this is all about. It is a struggle. And as to that salon manager, if it were so easy, everyone would be doing it.
Exactly.
Everyone would be
Exactly.
doing it. And
Yep.
that's the, if you look at an industry concern, I have a huge concern for people for our industry, because they're leaving, or it seems to be they're leaving, employee-based places to seek their own salvation, so to speak.
Right.
And the failure rate, which has been high already, is going to accelerate.
Yeah. It's
It,
heartbreaking to
it's
watch.
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
People have spent a fortune
Mhm.
to get into it. They're in debt up to their eyeballs, and to open unprepared is buyer beware.
Yeah.
Buyer beware. And
Yeah,
this is
I love your Facebook page. You have to join it. It's called Salon Owner Mastermind. So if you're not a part of it and you're a salon leader, you have to join Andrew and Derek Hall,
yeah.
who's going to be
Mhm.
on here, and James Alba lead that whole process. You guys have thousands of
Oh yeah.
salon leaders. It's incredible, and I love how they're leaning in. And I saw a young lady. She left her salon to open a salon suite, and I saw everyone, talking with her. Everyone's helping each other. It's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she was like, I had no idea I was going to have to also be the front desk person and be this person and that
Hello.
person. And, I keep hearing this word tossed around. And I think, as we start to close out this,
Uh-huh.
message here, I keep hearing, I want to own my own salon so I have more freedom. And in my head, I'm like, I don't think it's freedom you want, because I have absolutely zero freedom. Like, I'm thinking of my companies 24/7, but I love it because they're my ministry. And so, but I'm thinking, like, do you think you're going to have more time for your family? Like you were saying earlier, and I remember the first 10 years, I mean, we were basically sleeping at our first school because we didn't know what we're doing. I was learning the process, of what it would go through. So, do you think it's really freedom that they're looking for? What do you think they're really
You know what? That's really interesting. It goes back to Sean's, the clarity,
Yeah.
and definite freedom means different things to different people. So I don't know that there's any one answer, but
Yeah.
you have to get very specific. Freedom's a concept.
Yeah.
Spending more time with my family. How much more time do you want to spend with your family? What do you want to do? with that time? How do you want to be when you're there? When you open the door and it's like, honey, I'm home. How do you want to show up? Do you want to download a dastardly day, or do you want to be uplifting? Do you want to be compassionate? Do you want to be loving? What does that mean? We got to get specific to how we want to be, and then do those things in life that support our way of being.
So good. There's your vision board that you can make, and
You
we
got to
do
make a
vision
vision
boards
board.
every year. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I think that's a great tool.
Mhm.
I would recommend that anyone who is thinking about opening up their own thing, their own salon, ought to have a vision board. Because when you do, that becomes your why you're doing all this stuff, why you're answering the phone, why because I want to achieve this, I want to be this, I want to you know have this for my family. And so out of lack of clarity
Yeah.
comes a lot of bad moves for people. and and not that every move is great, and not that we don't take risks. We have to believe in ourselves. We must, because if we didn't, nothing would happen. But there's some things that are just plain dumb, and we're fighting against the odds. So we have to assess clearly, rationally, without the sense of, the on the one hand, life is so emotional. We make those decisions emotionally, but we really have to look at things, and then step by step. If even if it looks unattainable now, that's okay. Break it down to little pieces. What can I do? What's the next step? What do I have to do here? What do I have to do there? So we have a roadmap to success, to that vision board. Wind it back. You have a stairway, you know, and that's because we live in such a cloud these days, because there's so much noise through the social noise of people, who are making money just being noisy. I mean, it's a great
So
gig if you
true.
can. It's a great gig if you can get it. If you want to do that,
Yeah.
I don't see the real contribution, but that's okay. That's me. But you know,
So true. This is so good.
it's so to those people out there, please, 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 please get clear. And you do not have to wait till New Year's
Yeah.
to get clarity.
Right. Do
You
it now.
can right now, this evening, go buy the book and learn what the clarity is.
Yeah.
That's the first step. Take a step, make an investment in yourself, a real investment. Before you buy a chair or you put up a mirror, do that. Work on yourself, because if you don't, you're not going to have employees. That you'll be really lucky that people follow you.
Yeah.
And
Really
and and,
lucky.
and just one last note, I think there's a lot of fear that people have, that they're not good enough to be real leaders, and so they fall back into the security of just operating a chair. And the freedom thing is really being, what's the word for it, Tina? Help me here.
Misused.
Easy on yourself.
Yes.
Easy on yourself.
Comfort. Yes.
It's about your
Yeah.
comfort zone.
Yeah.
And in your comfort zone are all those things that you're already strong in. Those are your comforts.
Yeah.
You're a good hairdresser. You're comfortable with that.
Strength. Yeah.
That's a strength. You have a
Mhm.
nice personality. You're strong. We have to step out of that to grow. Without that, there's no growth. And that soon, fades. And I'm not saying we have to be like army sergeants with ourselves, but discipline
Mhm.
is critical to high performance.
Yeah. I love that you said that. And I know, Sean's going to have the last question in a second, but I love also the fact that you just can't do this alone. Like,
No.
get a coach, get people around you. I couldn't imagine. There's no way I could lead all my companies without Sean. He has every strength that I don't have, and
Mhm.
so we're able to go far. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with others. So pull people with you
Right, right.
instead of going alone.
Exactly. And high performance is over time. Over time, superior performance over time, above average performance over time.
Yeah.
It's the guide. I was so fortunate. I had great mentors from the day I stepped into the business. I had mentors. I followed them. Great men and women. Great. And I followed their lead.
Mhm.
I had to. Thank God. Thank God I was smart enough to know that because I didn't know anything else.
Yeah.
And I really didn't want to make a big mess of it. But trust yourself enough to know that it's okay to ask and it's okay not to know. And no one's going to think you're stupid. It's fine. And leaders, your people aren't stupid. Listen to them. Listen. Listen with an open, you know, mind, open ears, and an open heart. And when you do, people follow you. How about that? It's a
Yeah.
miracle.
That's
People
what
will follow.
leadership is. So
And
Sean, bring us home with our last.
help us, Sean.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Tina.
You kind of walked right into it because you talked about mentors and how important they are
Mhm.
to success and how you always need those people.
Right.
Thinking of your mentors, what was that one piece of advice that has stuck with you that has gained you the success that you've had?
Wow. That's a huge question. I've had so many mentors. God. My dad, who was, I worked with him for years, and I have to consider him a mentor. Had a love of life and a love for people. And he just said to me, you know what? Be hard on yourself, but don't be too hard. Be loving of yourself and be loving of others. And that will see you through.
Hmm.
It's about love. It sounds so weird. Thank you for asking the question. But it is at the end of the day, when we meet our maker, hey, we better have loved. We better have, made a difference at least to a few people around us.
True that.
And we better be in a position of no regret. No regrets.
I love that. Well, thank you, Andrew, for spending the past hour with us. We appreciate all you're doing for the industry and your contributions. So have an awesome day, everybody.
You too, and I hope to see you guys soon up in that great state of Michigan. I'm really looking forward to that. Truly.
Thank you, Andrew. You're awesome.
Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Sean.